Majorna is one of Gothenburg's oldest neighbourhoods. The area began to be developed down by the old shipyard, which today is called Stigbergskajen. In the middle of the 17th century, sailors, carpenters and boat builders settled here. The road between Klippan and the city was quite a long one, so Stigbergsliden became a popular place to stop for a beer and rest the horses.
The waiting and the longing is what unites us. Communication has varied greatly over the years. From none at all to letters, radio, telegrams, satellite and mobile phones today. In the past, the shipping companies made careful lists of port states and personnel which were published in the Gothenburg trade papers and maritime journals, so you could keep an eye on where they were. Our sailor's wife had to take all the decisions about finances and children and the home. Yes, like many wives today, it was important to talk about everyday life and the children so that the old man felt involved. Sometimes children didn't recognise their father when he came home. Sons would stare at bearded strangers on the street and say, "Dad?" Many people warned me about marrying a sailor. You'd be so lonely. But us sailor's wife have to be tough, and absence does make the heart grow fonder. The car is probably the greatest concern. Earlier, it was the bike, and before that, the horses. You're forced to become practical, with spoons in one hand and a screwdriver in the other. But of course, there were also the constant worry that your husband may never come home.
Almost every Swede has relatives in America. The quays in Gothenburg and Majorna were the gathering places for all the Swedish emigrants. Between 1915 and 1940, over 1 million people left on ships bound for America with the Swedish America Line, the SAL. Not everyone here on the quay is as well known as Greta Garbo and Moritz Stiller. A ticket from Gothenburg to New York cost a year's wages for a farmhand. You had to have a special trunk with a lock for your most valuable possessions. Unmarried young women were a large group that went directly from farm work in Sweden to be domestic workers in American cities. They were treated like family and were regarded as ladies by American men, who responded to them with a courtesy and consideration that they had never experienced in their own home country. Most of the Swedish men worked on farms or the railroad. Rail King James Hill said, "Give me snuff, whiskey and Swedes, and I will build a railroad to hell." Having relatives in America was something to be proud of. There were large ships and docks full of people who took a last farewell, a last breath of Swedish air. Homesickness can take many forms. Olaf Bergstrom founded his city in Nebraska. He called it Gothenburg.